In a world where nations strive for harmony and understanding, the concept of hate towards certain countries might seem out of place. Yet, it's a reality that some countries are viewed less favorably on the global stage due to various reasons such as political decisions, historical conflicts, or cultural misunderstandings. These perceptions can lead to a complex mix of emotions and attitudes from the international community, influencing everything from diplomatic relations to how citizens of these nations are treated abroad. Even as we look at the 10 most hated countries in 2024, it's important to remember that the countries mentioned here have found themselves under the critical eye of the world for different reasons. Some face backlash for their government policies, while others are tangled in long-standing geopolitical disputes. This list isn't just about pointing fingers, but understanding the deeper issues that lead to such strong global sentiments. Number 10. India. First up, let's chat about India. Known for its vibrant culture, diverse landscapes, and rich history, India also faces its share of international criticism. One major aspect that often puts India in the global spotlight, unfortunately in a negative light, is its geopolitical tensions. The relationship between India and Pakistan is notably strained, primarily due to long-standing disputes such as the one over Kashmir. This conflict has not only affected regional stability but also how other countries perceive India. Also, internal issues such as social inequalities, religious strife, and human rights concerns paint a complex picture. For instance, the international media sometimes portrays India as grappling with severe issues of poverty and extremism, skewing global perceptions. Interestingly, despite these challenges, India is not just viewed through a single lens. Its soft power, driven by Bollywood and its historical non-alignment policy in global politics, garners both admiration and goodwill internationally. Yet, the dichotomy of respect versus disdain remains a central theme in understanding why India might be disliked on various global platforms. Number 9. Pakistan. Moving westward from India, Pakistan shares some thematic elements in its story of global perception. Often in the news for political instability, economic challenges, and security issues, Pakistan's international image is a complicated one. One striking point of contention is the alleged involvement of certain groups within Pakistan in global terrorism. This accusation significantly tarnishes the nation's image abroad, contributing heavily to its appearance on lists of disliked countries. Societal issues within Pakistan also contribute to the hate they get. The treatment of women and minority groups, for instance, often comes under scrutiny, leading to international backlash affecting how both allies and adversaries view the country. It's also worth mentioning the diaspora effect. Pakistanis abroad are sometimes stereotyped based on the actions of a few, influencing perceptions back home. Number 8. Israel. If countries were high school students, Israel would be the one everyone's always whispering about. Founded in 1948, right after World War II, this country has been at the center of geopolitical drama more times than most of us can count. But why the fuss? For starters, Israel finds itself in the middle of a region that's had its fair share of tension. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which has roots reaching back to the early 20th century, is a major source of the heat Israel gets. Fast forward to 2023, and things haven't cooled down. Reports indicate that Israeli forces have been involved in actions in Gaza and the West Bank that some international observers label as war crimes. The term, ethnic cleansing, even pops up in discussions, painting a grim picture of the situation. Fuel to the fire, Israel's international airport might as well have a "Do Not Enter" sign for citizens of 22 countries that ban direct flights and overflights to and from Israel. These include nations like Iran, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia, just to name a few. Number 7. Iraq. Iraq is a country that's been through the ringer and back. Known as the cradle of civilization, modern-day Iraq sits on land once home to the mighty Babylonian and Assyrian empires. But recent history hasn't been kind to this storied nation. Since the US-led invasion in 2003, which toppled Saddam Hussein, Iraq has been grappling with instability, terrorism, and political upheaval. The emergence of ISIS in 2014 didn't help matters, turning large parts of the country into battlegrounds and displacing millions of people. The violence has had devastating effects on public perception. Images of war and suffering broadcast around the world have painted Iraq in a negative light. It's a classic case of bad news traveling fast and sticking hard. It's not just the internal chaos that's caused Iraq's reputation to tank. The country also faces criticism for its human rights record, including issues like freedom of expression and the treatment of minority groups.
Number 6. Iran.
Iran's political landscape has been a major red flag for many around the world. The country is essentially governed by a theocracy, where the supreme leader holds significant power over all state affairs, overshadowing even the elected president. This concentration of power has led to numerous human rights abuses, which have been documented and criticized internationally. Arbitrary detentions, unfair trials, and the suppression of freedom of speech are rampant. Iran has been accused of supporting terrorist organizations like Hezbollah and Hamas, destabilizing the Middle East and straining its relations with many Western countries.
Iran's stance on social issues adds another layer to its negative image. The legal system includes harsh penalties for actions that many other countries consider personal choices, such as consuming alcohol or engaging in same-sex relationships. Number 5. North Korea.
Let's delve into the intricacies of North Korea, a nation frequently listed among the most reviled countries on Earth. Life in North Korea is a harrowing ordeal, primarily due to its iron-fisted regime helmed by Kim Jong-un. The government exercises absolute control over every facet of existence, from media and religion to the private lives of its populace. Freedom of speech is virtually non-existent, and dissent against the regime is met with ruthless repercussions, including imprisonment or even execution. Reports from defectors and international bodies paint a grim picture of life in labor camps, where inmates, including children, endure forced labor, torture, and starvation. The regime's stranglehold on information ensures that citizens have minimal access to the outside world, perpetuating their isolation and impoverishment. Economically, North Korea languishes, with a disproportionate focus on military spending at the expense of the populace's welfare, resulting in widespread poverty and famine. The country's nuclear ambitions have triggered severe sanctions from the international community, further crippling its economy. Like Iran, North Korea exhibits a glaring disparity between its government's pursuits and the populace's interests, with citizens bearing the brunt of economic isolation and repressive social controls.
Number 4. Saudi Arabia.
This nation often evokes comparisons to a wealthy uncle with a mysterious coin collection of dubious origins. In 2022 alone, Saudi Arabia executed a staggering 196 individuals, earning it a prominent spot on the list of countries with high rates of capital punishment. However, the issue transcends mere numbers. Executions are often carried out for vague reasons, including accusations of witchcraft. Reports abound of detainees coerced into false confessions through torture, casting doubt on the fairness of trials. Migrant workers, drawn by the promise of better prospects, frequently encounter exploitative working conditions, characterized by long hours, meager wages, and a disregard for basic human rights. Criticizing the government carries severe consequences, with dissenters facing lengthy prison sentences. Even social media platforms are not immune, as posting dissenting views can attract the authorities' attention. Number 3. United States. While often celebrated as the land of the free, the United States grapples with its own set of issues that fuel global discontent. Its propensity for acting as the world's policeman, intervening militarily and meddling in foreign politics, draws criticism from many quarters. The nation's high rate of gun ownership correlates with a staggering number of gun-related deaths, sparking heated debates on gun control. Economic inequality looms large, with a widening gap between the affluent and the impoverished, exemplified by Silicon Valley's billionaires juxtaposed with struggling individuals. Contentious issues such as abortion, gender rights, and racial equality fuel cultural wars, with progress often met by regressive backlash.
Number 2. Russia.
Despite its vast expanse and rich cultural heritage, Russia grapples with a tarnished international image. Under the prolonged rule of Vladimir Putin, the nation has veered towards authoritarianism, stifling dissent and exerting control over the media and political opposition. Independent journalism faces significant hurdles, with pressure to toe the official line on sensitive topics like the Ukraine conflict or criticism of Putin himself. Internationally, Russia's actions, including military interventions and conflicts like those in Ukraine, have drawn widespread condemnation and economic sanctions. Domestically, corruption, restricted freedoms, and a stifled political environment compound the populace's challenges, further souring global perceptions of the nation.
Number 1. China.
China, a global giant, finds itself mired in controversy, earning the dubious distinction of being the most reviled country on the planet. Despite its meteoric economic ascent, China faces intense scrutiny over human rights abuses, particularly in Xinjiang, where reports of forced labor and re-education camps have sparked international outrage. In Hong Kong, the imposition of the national security law has eroded autonomy and freedoms, triggering widespread protests and condemnation. China's sophisticated internet censorship apparatus, the Great Firewall, restricts online freedoms for over 1 billion people, extending its control beyond its borders through extensive surveillance and espionage. Aggressive foreign policies, exemplified by its actions in the South China Sea, strain relations with neighboring nations and the U.S. Economic prowess notwithstanding, China's trade practices, perceived as unfair or predatory, further complicate its global relationships. The handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, coupled with transparency issues, has further diminished China's standing on the world stage. While these countries may elicit disdain on the global stage, it's imperative to approach the topic with empathy and understanding. Each nation grapples with its unique challenges, and acknowledging these complexities can foster better international relations and a more cooperative future. Remember, every country has its shadows and its light, shaping a diverse tapestry of global perspectives and experiences.